happier.pt.com. I'm here with the third exercise video, which is all about calf strengthening. First things first, this video is intended for information only. While I am a licensed doctor of physical therapy, I'm not your physical therapist. And therefore, this video is not intended to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any injury or illness. And I highly recommend that you talk with your healthcare provider prior to starting a new exercise to make sure it's appropriate for you. So calf strengthening, how is it important for runners? How much do you need? Why do you need it? How do you get it? So it's interesting. I think we would assume that when we're running, the calf muscles are primarily used at the end of stance phase to help push us off of the ground. But actually what the research says is that the calf muscles are primarily used during landing to help absorb the loads of landing and decrease our collision with the ground. In fact, they've shown that the calf muscles are pretty much silent or inactive during the push-off phase of running. So that is going to play into our exercise selection because the calf muscles then are being used primarily in an eccentric manner, which means they're active while they're being stretched, and also in a very quick manner. So the landing experience is milliseconds. It's not a very long time. So the calf muscles have to act strongly to catch your body as it lands, act while being stretched, and quickly. So first off, how much strength do you need in your calves? There have been two studies that have kind of quantified that using the single leg heel raise test. So the first one was published in 1995, and it looked at a wide population of ages, male, female, activity levels, and just said across the whole spectrum, the average number of single leg heel raises a person can do is 27.9, basically 28. So then in 2017, there was a follow-up study published that took a big sample of people, looked at how many heel raises they could do each leg, but then broke the data down into age by decades. They have 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, all the way up to 80-somethings. They looked at male versus female and right leg versus left leg. So their findings showed that, like, for a 31-year-old female like myself, the average person can perform about 27 on the left leg and 28 on the right leg. Now their population that they did this study with, on average, had a BMI of 24.2 kilograms per meter squared, so we're fairly fit, and also reported an activity level of a 4 on a 1 to 6 scale, 1 being sedentary and 6 being harder, very hard physical activity several days a week. So it's pretty representative of the recreational running community, so it's a good place to start. So that one's listed in the references, and if you want to look up and see for your age group, male versus female, how many single leg heel raises kind of you should be able to perform on each leg, that's a great place to look. A lot of clinicians just use the number 30 flat out. You should be able to do 30 single leg heel raises on each leg. I'm a little more lenient, and I tend to say as long as you can get at least 20 on each leg, you're probably okay. 30 is a great goal, but there's not a whole lot of people that I've screened that can actually do 30 single leg heel raises on each leg. So as long as you can get 20 with good form, you're probably okay, but might still want to add some basic calf strengthening into your program. Now the good form I'm talking about here, so you can't just do any single leg heel raise, you got to do proper form. So for that, you would be standing all of your weight on one foot, so the other foot's completely off of the ground. You can use one finger on the wall for balance, not a whole hand, not holding on to any other furniture, one finger. The knee of the standing leg has to be perfectly straight, not bent, and the foot has to be pointed pretty much straight ahead. A lot of the studies will use a metronome, so you would go up on one beat, down on the next beat, so it'd be up, down, up, down. You don't have to do that, just make sure that you're going with control, and you're not taking long breaks in between each one. So it would look kind of like this. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. If you start to swing your body, you're done. If you let the knee bend to get the foot up off the floor, you're done. If you're hopping propping yourself up, you're done. So you want to be able to control that movement, so it's just using the calf muscle to get you up and down. Now if you can do 30 or more than 20, or the average for your age group, great, you're probably okay. If you can't, or you really struggle with those last few reps, highly recommend that you add some basic calf strengthening into your usual strengthening program. Those single leg calf raises are actually a great way to train them. You can add a dumbbell or a kettlebell for extra resistance, or wear a weighted vest or backpack. Also for runners, I usually recommend that you do them on some kind of raised platform, like a stair step. Just because when you're running, your ankle does go beyond that 90-degree angle. And so it's good to be able to have that controlled mobility through more of a range than just to the flat floor. All right, so once you can do the 20 to 30 or however many you need to do for your age group, single leg heel raises with good form. Moving on from there, we need to work on engaging that muscle in that eccentric, controlling, landing, quick stretch kind of way. So the best way to do this is with plyometric exercises. Now I couldn't really find any studies that specifically looked at plyometric exercises and calf Achilles injuries in runners or running performance. But the studies that I did find demonstrated that plyometric exercises performed just once a week, doesn't take a lot, but they increase the thickness of the Achilles tendon, which helps prevent against injury. Also increased its ability to store elastic energy, which is what we want to do in running. Also in one study that was with a group of marathon runners, the group that did the plyometric exercises missed fewer days of training, demonstrated less soreness following running sessions, and also reported less exertion during running. They had lower creatine kinase levels following the running sessions. So overall, helpful in a lot of ways. And the plyometric exercises that they did in these studies were things like squat jumps, single leg hops in all directions, frog hops, the lunge hops or Mary Catherine's, box jumps, depth jumps, all basic things that don't require any equipment really. Now they didn't specify between if these athletes were wearing shoes or going barefoot during the exercises. My recommendation would be, if you can tolerate it, to do these exercises barefoot, because not only will you be working on improving your calf strength and its ability to react quickly and control your landing, but you'll also improve your proprioception. So your body sensation of where your foot is, where your body is in relation to your foot, where they all are in relation to the ground. Having bare feet increases that sensory input, which is going to help make you more stable. So especially if you're a trail runner, trying to do these things barefoot, it's going to be really helpful. So I want to finish today by just showing you kind of a sample of some of these plyometric exercises. These are a lot of ones that I do in my training. And then as usual, references are listed in the notes section, so you can go look at those. And then if you have any comments, questions, concerns of your own, any other issues that you've come along with, head on over to www.runhappierpt.com and send me an email, and I'd love to chat with you. And thanks for watching. All right, so I'm going to start with some of the easier ones. Obviously, I don't have a box in here today, so I can discuss the depth jumps and box jumps, but I won't be actually doing them. I'm going to start with just a basic squat jump. So for these, you want good squat form, so feet under your hips, basic little squat into a jump, and just bounding up and down like that. Watch those knees, make sure that they're not collapsing in as you jump, but staying in line with your toes. And so from the side, here again, should be sitting back in the hips, so your knees aren't coming in front of your toes. And then just little jumps this way. One thing to note with most of these plyometric exercises is not only do they work calf and ankle control, but they also work hip stability. So you may find that you're sore in muscles outside of your lower leg after a session of these. Totally normal. The Mary Catherine's are split lunges. So these are going to be jumping into a lunge position, and then alternating back and forth. Again, make sure your knee is staying lined up with your foot, not rolling in. And from the side. Okay, one that more targets specifically the foot and ankle. These are going to be the single leg hops. The study talked about doing them forward, backward, and sideways. So I like to combine them all and do them either in a cross pattern or in kind of a four square pattern. So I'll start with the cross pattern. Single leg, hopping forward, backward, in, out, and then up to speed. Forward, backward, in, out. Forward, backward, in. Okay. The four square hopping, switch legs, you go forward, sideways, back, sideways. Up to speed, and you can go the other direction. So with these, I'll usually do about 10 clockwise or counterclockwise, and then switch and do about 10 in the opposite direction. All right, going back to the squat jumps, you can increase the intensity of those by squatting lower, jumping higher, or adding some directions to those. So you can do what they call frog hops, where you do them with a forward travel or a backwards travel. You can also do them with a sideways travel. And another sideways one that I like to do, I've always called speed skaters. So for these, it's a basic lateral hop. But then you want to add in a little reach down towards the floor. So it kind of looks like you're speed skating. All right, I think that's all of those. So depth jumps would be starting on a box, jumping down to the ground, and either jumping down and absorbing, or jumping down and rebounding into a jump. Box jumps would be the opposite, so starting on the ground, jumping up to a box, then either stepping down or starting on top of the box, jumping down and rebounding back onto the box. So this is just a variety, some options, basically anything where you're jumping, 2 feet, 1 foot, sideways, forwards, backwards, in one place. If you want to mix in a little core and shoulder stability, burpees are also a good option. But basically anything that gets you jumping. So I hope you found that helpful. Come visit me